to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary for you. Oh, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy. I am a tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary for you. And I am your sanctuary, God. I am yours. I am yours. And I am your sanctuary. I am yours. So prepare me to be your sanctuary. I am pure and I am a holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary. I am a sanctuary. I am yours. I am yours. And I am your sanctuary, God. I am yours. I am yours. Sanctuary, make me your sanctuary. I am yours. So prepare me to be your sanctuary. I am pure. I know I am holy. We are tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary. I am yours. I am your sanctuary. I am yours.
Please pray with me as we come together today, this beautiful day that God has made for us. We are so blessed and thankful for being here in this space, in this time, in this place. So as we know today is blessed and we are each a blessing, we know that today's service moves forward beautifully and that Reverend Jen has a beautiful message for us that has come from Spirit. We are just so thankful that we know that Spirit is with us always within us. That love, that unconditional love, strengthens us, saves us in many, many instances, and just makes us feel so safe and so comforted when we're in need. So in that knowing, we are so grateful for today's service, for all of our volunteers, our practitioners, our ushers, our music, our technical team, everybody who helps put this together. We are just so grateful for each and every one. So many volunteers who give their time and energies, and we are just so grateful for that. And we know too that those who are not actually with us physically today are doing what they need to do in spirit, whatever that happens to be and wherever that happens to be at. We just bless each and every person, as we know that each and every person is on their own spiritual path, and we bless it. So in this knowing today, we know that we take away just a little nugget even today. Take it with us throughout our week and just think about it, bring it forward, and use it, and know that it will improve our lives. So each and every little nugget improves us as we grow, and we grow together. And we are so thankful and grateful again as we say together, and so it is. Amen. Our words of inspiration today for the body remembers from Felicia Rashad. Everything you do, every thought you have, every word you say creates a memory that you will hold on into your body. It's imprinted on you and affects you in subtle ways you are not always aware of. With that in mind, be very conscious and selective. And from Clarissa Pincola Estes, the body remembers, the bones remember, the joints remember, even your little finger remembers. Memory is lodged in pictures and feelings, in the cells themselves. Like a sponge filled with water, anywhere the flesh is pressed, wrung, even touched lightly, a memory may flow out in a stream. And from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, our mind should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. This would be a well-balanced existence. The Spirit fires the soul with energy and understanding. The soul vitalizes the body and animates all that we do.
Let's begin our message today with a little visualization. You're going to participate in your favorite sport activity. We're going to let go of however old we are today, and we're going to go into that space of what it feels like or felt like when we used to be involved in whatever activity it is that came to mind for you. Maybe it was surfing, bicycling, hiking, playing baseball. What's that thing? Pickleball. Think about that for a minute. And what I want you to think about is the fact that whatever it was you did, whatever it was you participated in, you had a desire for it. You had a passion for it. And that passion that you had for it helped you overcome any obstacle that may have gotten in your way. So back to the surfing concept, the waves, the ocean, the depth, the possible dangers below the surface, the size of the waves. Hiking, riding a bicycle, something where you're out there in nature and you don't know what could show up, what could cross your path, what could come into your way. And yet, you allowed your passion and your desire to help you overcome any thought of quitting. You allowed your passion to push you through and to find alternatives, to take a different path, to go off-road for a moment if you had to do whatever you needed to do to let go of the wing of that airplane the day you jumped out of it, to enjoy the breathtaking experience that you were all about. So just think about that for a moment, that idea of threat and that idea of opportunity, and how you managed and how you maneuvered and how you handled it. Because what I want to talk about today is the way you rode the wave, the way you took an alternative path, the way you adjusted, shifted, whatever you needed to do. That's the way you're addressing life today. And the way that we do that, it talks about how we move forward, what we embody, and what we remember. Two of us can be in a similar traumatic situation and come out of it with totally different senses, feelings, expressions, describing it completely differently because of our history. So just take a moment and consider that and what that means to you. Every moment, every condition, every stressor, every success, every joy, every sorrow, we continue to plug along, and the body remembers. Sadhguru says, the mind remembers only certain things. The body remembers everything. The information it carries goes back to the beginning of existence. Now, I love this quote because it tells us a message that maybe we didn't realize before. It's not just remembering my history. It's remembering all history. The body remembers. And isn't it interesting that the mind is a little bit more conditional? It kind of hangs on to what we tell it to. Some of you didn't know that you were able to train your brains, but yes, we are. And so what's really interesting is that something shows up in the body, and we can't figure out what it is. I didn't do anything. I didn't strain anything. I didn't cause this, but all of a sudden I have this pain, and I can't figure it out. It's because there is a cellular memory that's responding to some emotion or criteria in this moment in time, and we haven't quite figured it out. So we're going to talk about that. There are so many stories. This morning I was just kind of reflecting on all the books I could quote you, of all the places you could go to read about all of this. I'm not going to do that. Past life experiences from this part of our life, a moment of trauma that took place, a heavy stressor, can cause us to embrace something, to bring something along with us in the body that shows up later. Some of you had an opportunity in the workshop last week to experience kinesiology, and that's where you were able to test pressure on your arm to see if your body was weak or strong with certain criteria. And I worked with a therapist years ago, and I went in one time, and the whole right side of my neck and my head was completely restricted. The pain was excruciating. I could not turn my head. It was causing me a lot of problems. And she worked with the energy of the body. And so she started asking me questions, and she started doing some muscle testing and all this wonderful stuff. And this was about, 10, 12 years ago maybe. And what we discovered was a few days before I started noticing this pain, I had had a disagreement with someone that I looked at as a leader. And the conflict that had taken place wasn't detrimental, but it was big. It was a big kind of a thing. And so as this practitioner is working with me, this doctor, and she's doing all of this muscle testing, and she's asking questions, I'm seeing flashes of this person's face. But the kinesiologist and that type of work that is done doesn't ever just take you to the moment. It takes you back. And so we started going back to something that might have happened to me 5 years before, 10 years before. And it was taking me back into these regression periods of my life until I got to the age of 17. And as I am sitting there working with this amazing person whom I trusted, the face that I was seeing starts to become a face of someone I knew at the age of 17 that I felt had harmed me in very deep emotional ways. And as the doctor is working and talking and having me repeat things, the two faces kind of just kept flashing in front of my face. What I came to realize is that this pain was triggered 3 days before, and it was triggering something that happened to me at the age of 17. And I'm thrilled to tell you that when we got done with the session, the pain was gone, and it never came back. So to think about that and bring that into the context of where we are today, you go to the doctor, you have a pain. They can't figure out what's wrong. And don't you love that? They have no idea. They'll give you a pill, maybe, some of them. And they'll try to help you get past the symptom, but nobody's looking for the deep-rooted piece of what's going on. And that's what we want to do. That's what we as metaphysicians and religious scientists want to look at. We want to go to that space of, okay, what is the root cause here so that once I release this, I'm done with it for good. It's no longer a part of my life. We call them memories. We call them feelings. And whether you know it or not, they are very active and alive in the body today. I have this quote from Naomi Judd that says, "Your body hears everything your mind says." So I thought it'd be really cool to start here with that inner dialogue, that place where we talk to ourselves, because you pretty much are doing that all the time. I'm doing it out loud. I don't know if you're doing that. Most of us are keeping it inside our heads, but there's this constant chatter going on. And many of you who've ever done any work with me or taken classes with me have heard me say, you might want to stop saying that. Or how could you rephrase that statement? Because the things that we say over and over and over again are being adopted by the mind and the body's response. And as soon as the brain kicks into, oh, is that what's going on here? Then it starts to send those signals out to the body. 100 years ago, well, it probably wasn't that long ago, I had a challenge with respiratory illnesses approximately every March, seemed like. After a couple years, it seemed like I was either getting pneumonia, bronchitis, something. And one day I said, I don't know what this is about, but every year I'm getting some kind of a respiratory ailment in the spring, early spring. Actually, March in Colorado is really middle of winter, right? Anyhow, after another year or so of this showing up, I thought, maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. And so the next time I got sick, I said, I used to, up until now, I was having this problem almost annually, but this is the last time I'm going to have this experience. And it was the last time. Haven't had an upper respiratory ailment at all for many, many years. The mind is listening. Be careful with what you say, and be gentle with what you're telling yourself, because it's being absorbed into your very components of who you are, your very DNA, and now you're responding to some level. Bessel van der Kolk said this: mindfulness not only makes it possible to survey our internal landscape with compassion and curiosity, but can also actively steer us in the right direction for self-care. Okay, so the first step was be careful what you're saying to yourself. Pay attention to that talk. And the second one is, let's be mindful. Let's pay attention. I had a lot of stress in my life this past week, a lot of stressful things, not anything, off the charts, life stuff. People coming into the earthly plane, people leaving, all kinds of things going on. And what I noticed, for me, my reaction, my response, was to go into that unconscious mode, where I was doing things, but I wasn't paying attention. I lost more objects and more things during this past week. I cannot tell you. How many times do you walk into a room and you open a closet or a cupboard door and you're standing there and you have no idea why you're there? And I got to tell you, I tell my dog, I tell her where I'm going and what I'm doing, but she doesn't help. She's not a good reminder. And now I'm standing here, and I'll go back downstairs, and as soon as I get back to wherever I was, oh my gosh, I remember. So now I start repeating it over and over again as to why I'm walking back upstairs, what it is I have, an envelope. I needed an envelope. For heaven's sake, all we have to do is step into awareness. Be in the body 100% of the time. And we can support ourselves in this process. So some things that you can do this week. There is a wonderful meditation. It's called Body Scan. Some of you may have some impressions on how to do it. You can certainly look up some things. Google is just a wealth of information. But I learned this through biofeedback years ago, and it's where you just sit, lay, whatever you want to do, whatever position you want to be in, and you allow your conscious mind, your awareness, to scan the body and look for pain, ailment, discomfort. What's going on from the bottoms, from the soles of your feet all the way up to the top of your head. And 10 minutes a day can give you that wonderful awareness that something's going on, breathing into the space, possibly taking time for prayer or spiritual mind treatment if that's what is necessary, and then just consider what this could be and what you can do with it. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, okay, this really hurts. What are you trying to tell me? Now that may sound crazy to some people. I think many of us, at least in this room, have heard this before. What is my body telling me? What is going on that I need to pay attention to? We want to honor the cell memory. We want to consider the fact that we've been talking about how we go through this transformational process and we're constantly peeling away the layers of the onion. And something that happened to me at the age of 17 that I worked through for many, many, many years, went to therapy, did all kinds of stuff, showed up 20, 30 years later, probably closer to 40 years later. 40 years later, thought I was done with that. Have you ever said that? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got through that. I'm done with that. Yeah, not necessarily. You're done with it at the level you were working through it when you began, but you're not necessarily completely done with it. So this week I recommend take 10 minutes, take some meditation time, do a body scan, and just talk to your body and see what it's trying to tell you. Does your brain look like this? Because my brain looks like this. We've got arrows going in all different directions. This is what I was talking about with you walk into a room and you can't remember what's going on. You're having a conversation. You can see the face of the person or the place where you were that you're trying to talk about, and you cannot grab it. It's gone. And I don't care who you are. It's not because of your age. I don't go see doctors and medical professionals who tell me that everything that's wrong with me is because of my age. It's because we are in stress overload. We are so inundated with information and data and hysteria and trauma and drama and news and negativity and all this stuff. It's hard to keep track. It's difficult, and that's what I realized happened with me this last week, because I not only had the opportunity to say goodbye, at least in my own being and space, with someone who I knew and loved and cared for, to one individual, but I got to say goodbye to 4. And I kept trying to tell myself that I shouldn't feel this way because of this one individual. We weren't really that close. That was my story. Stop it. If you're going there, stop it. If your emotions are showing up, I was blubbering for moments because I was so shocked by what I heard. And then I tried to tell myself I shouldn't be feeling that way. If you're doing that to yourself, please stop. Allow the body, allow the emotions to unfurl the way they need to. It's telling you something. It's allowing you to move forward. And that was the case for me. And I got stuck for a little while. Our feelings weave in and out of everything, whether they are justified, as we might say, or not. Whether they are appropriate, someone may tell you, or not. Doesn't matter. They're your feelings. Feel them. Allow them. Allow yourself to express. And then that wonderful expression that we all have, that the body gives us so freely, is the ability to shed tears, to just cry, to just let it go, and to just look at those tears as expressions of love and not judge ourselves. Because all those voices when we were kids that told us what was right, what was wrong, what we could express, told us not to be a crybaby. Don't be so, are you crying again? Yeah, get over it. Walk out, go in the other room because I'm going to keep crying. Take the time, feel the expression, express. Mark Nepo gives us this quote: "The task of being fully alive challenges us to stay in the center while feeling the full range of life on earth. We are living on this planet. There is a whole lot going on, yet we are spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Let us take the time to allow everything around us to be around us and allow ourselves, remind ourselves that we can still stay centered. Even in my grief for the past week, I was able to stay centered. I was able to stay grounded. Except for one afternoon for a couple of hours when I tried to decide it wasn't happening. And the amazing things that I ate while I was trying not to be emotional really surprised me. It happens to all of us. Let's give ourselves permission this week to be in our bodies. Let's give ourselves permission to know that we are here on planet Earth, but we're not of the earth, we're of spirit. And honor this body, honor this being the best way that we can. And not push ourselves through something when we're hurting, when we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we're zapped, but take the time for rest. And when we're hungry, take the time for nourishment. Our bodies are going to hold imprints of what has transpired until we permit them to be felt and released. Persistent little bugger, isn't it, that body? The more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. The more restrictive movement gets. The greater the pain becomes. It's going to get our attention we might as well take the moment in the right here and right now when it shows up and pay attention and see what we can do with it. The alarm signals that happen for us, pain, dis-ease, crippling ailments that we do not have to experience if we take the time to just be present and listen. So healing, health, learning to feel our feelings and releasing old stuck emotions and sensations doesn't happen overnight. It can take generations to release some of these things. There is a whole spectrum of health, and the path through healing means that we have to look at our own experience, our own life, in a new and different way, over and over again. It's never a one-time thing. So what happens is, and is happening to all of us, and we've seen it greatly in the past few years, is that collective trauma that touches all of us leaves a mark on all of us. And wouldn't you think by now, with all of the things that have happened just in the last couple of years, that our compassion muscle would be so strong, that we'd be so willing and able to just show compassion and empathy for someone who is hurting and in pain, whether we understand it or not, whether we agree or not. But it doesn't seem like that's the direction we've been going. It almost seems like the opposite has been true. We're becoming more outraged by the things that are happening, the way people are behaving. And that's not the world we're meant to be supporting of right now. We can make a change. We can absolutely make a change. So today is Juneteenth. And in the United States, this is also known as Emancipation Day. It symbolizes the end of slavery and commemorates the reading of President Abraham Lincoln's General Order. The war did not end on Juneteenth. The slaves were not freed on Juneteenth. They just found out that they had been free from slavery for a few years before. So today is June 19th, which is the commemorative day of this taking place. And tomorrow is the federal holiday. And just think for a moment about the energy on this planet, the physical beings that were impacted by years of slavery. And consider for a moment what the body is holding or trying to express now. Because I mentioned before, the body remembers everything. So there is a part of us, there is a part of our energy that remembers all of this. The fact of the matter is, we cannot heal what we refuse to look at. We cannot heal what we refuse to look at. I wasn't on planet Earth back when some of this was taking place, but I still have a part to play in the healing. Absolutely, without doubt. Maya Angelou gives us this quote that says, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, it need not be lived again." I read that quote and I thought, is that what we're doing today? Are we being courageous and facing all that we need to face so that we don't have to do this again? Or are we more in that mindset of pretending that all the stuff that happened really didn't happen, or of trying to excuse ourselves from any responsibility and accountability and saying, it wasn't mine, I didn't do that, I didn't make that decision, I didn't have anything to do with that. No, that's not the answer. We must face with courage. We must look at what needs to be healed. We must come up with a new idea. And isn't it amazing and wonderful that we have that ability to co-create with Spirit so that we have that energy moving us forward with new ideas and creative ways to take a stand, to be in support, to change the world. Deepak says to us, awareness is all about restoring your freedom to choose what you want instead of what your past imposes upon you. In my younger years, I was just kind of reliving the past, the things that I'd been taught. My parents were beautiful, amazing examples of people of love, but they had horrific health. And at one point in time, I decided that I was not going to go through my life with the ailments, the problems, the challenges, the surgeries, oh my gosh, the hospitalizations that my parents went through. I was not. I was going to change. I was going to look at what did my body need and what could I do. However, I have a brother who, from outside perspective, seemed to believe that everything that was going on with Mom and Dad was going to go on with him. And he went right into that repeat mode and has had health issues for years. So think about this. All we have to do is be aware, restore our freedom, pay attention, consider the body, honor the body, let go of the debilitating memories through whatever process is necessary, spiritual practice, prayer, ritual, whatever it takes. Taking the time to pause, to breathe in, to listen is the very first step of really paying attention, of really being in this place of what can I do, how can I support my body. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said the intelligence in the physical body is a subconscious intelligence. It works creatively, but within certain fixed limitations. It's like a person sent on an errand and told what to do and knowing only to do what they are told. The intelligence, the mind in the body only does what it's told. So we come to the question today. What are you telling your body? And what is it trying to tell you? And are you willing to listen? Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to open up? Are you willing to shift, adjust, change, whatever needs to happen? Take deeper breaths. Shed more tears. Stomp your feet every once in a while. I don't recommend you do that in the parking lot at King Soopers. People will look at you weird. Someone may even come up and ask you if you're okay. But in the quiet and the solitude of your home, if you're feeling bottled up with some kind of anger, find a way to release it. Allow the body to let go so that you don't come to that space where you're carrying all of this stuff, all of this energy from the past, all of this trauma that isn't yours. I used to carry my son's stuff with me all the time. And then one day I realized that they weren't responding to certain criteria the same way I was. I had a totally different perspective. From a mother's perspective, I could see where they were being abused at school. I could see where they were being ridiculed. I could see where there were serious problems, and I wanted to do something about it. I couldn't do anything about it. I was adult. They were kids, so I'm carrying it with me. And they're fine. I mean, they seem to be doing just fine. They're mending those relationships and getting back together with their friends, or they're ignoring whoever they need to. They're working through it. It wasn't mine to hold on to. So as we go through this week, let us just take a moment and really get clear on what's ours. Because there might be some stuff here that doesn't belong here. And isn't that an amazing thing to think that we can let it go? That we can let it go. Please join me as we go within. In this space right here and right now, on this beautiful, beautiful spring day, we recognize the creative power, the creative energy in all things. Everything around us, the beautiful heat that's coming throughout the day that we waited for, we longed for so much, and now it's here. We can celebrate it. The sunshine, the blue sky. Knowing that all of this is God, energy, Godness. And knowing this, we know that this power, this Godness, lives within each of us and is supporting us in moving through our lives easily, gracefully, joyfully, letting go of the things that do not serve us, embracing what does, and being aware, being mindful of who we are and how we are. For only when we do our inner work are we able to do the work for those in need around us. How beautiful it is to know that we are not alone, that we are always accompanied by this presence. How beautiful it is to know that we can always remake ourselves and remake our lives and remake our day. Every single moment we have an opportunity to start again if we choose. And we have an opportunity to hold on to all of that we cherish, that we want to hold close and hold dear, that beautiful love, that beauty of life. And so I know right here and right now that all people everywhere are blessed by God. All activities of this day are blessed. All conversations, all interaction, all hugs are filled with the space and the spirit of the divine. And so we celebrate this. We give thanks for all that this is. And we simply let this go, knowing that these words, these ideas move through us and give us maybe an idea or two of what we can do to pay attention to a body that remembers. I'm grateful for the privilege to bring this to prayer. I'm grateful for the opportunity to hold this community and all others in the high regard of spirit. I'm grateful for this day, Father's Day, Juneteenth, and all of the amazing meanings it has for so many of us. It's perfect and it's beautiful. And so there's nothing more we need to do at this moment in time is simply let it go. Turning it over to the law of mind where everything is unfolding in God's divine perfection. And we let it be. And together we say, and so it is.
I must have been crazy to stand my ground, a queen with no fortune, defending her crown. I must have been out of my mind. You think I'd have learned when every road to redemption crossed a bridge that I burned. Oh, I think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time for the letting go. think it's time for the letting go. Fists up high, proclaiming my case at the cost of my soul. Such a disgrace to look inside what I'd become, denying my freedom and enslaving the love that was made, oh, for the sake of the rest of my life. I'm willing to surrender it all, the resentment and fears, the anger and tears. God, give me the strength, give me the strength to let it all go. I think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time for the letting go. Forgiveness was all I had left to heal these wounds and to clean up the mess. Salvation, well, it came with no price. The moment I knew I didn't have to be right anymore. For the sake of the rest of my life, I'm willing to surrender it all, surrender it all. The guilt and the shame, the judgment and blame. God, give me the strength. God, give me the strength to let it all go. I think it's time for the letting go. Sing with me. Think it's time for the letting go. Think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time, yeah. I think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time for the letting go. I think it's time for the letting go. We are letting it go, letting it go. Let it go. Ooh, oh, for the sake of the rest of my life, I'm willing to surrender it all, surrender it all. The resentment and fears, and the anger and tears. Ooh, for the sake of the rest of my life, our life, I'm willing to surrender it all, it all. The guilt and the shame, the judgment and blame. My God, give me the strength. Give us the strength. We are willing to, I know we are, to let it all go. I think it's time for the letting go. Think it's time for the letting go. Think it's time for the letting go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. I think it's time for the letting go. Letting go.
Hello, I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community. And we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here. And thank you for joining our online community.